제가 산재 공부를 못 했지. 도와줘. 대세대 가서다. 전주에서 멜럽잖아. 수신이 나오는 신고 토를 좀 되게 좀 우리가 또 터발해야는 가서다. 좀 넣어 가지고 가서다. 라면 좀 얘기해서 어떻게 좀 됐죠.
And so that we'll just review and begin again at the beginning of the great capacity being path of the graduated path to enlightenment, and we set our motivation to do our best to be able to listen very carefully to what the instructions related to the greater being capacity path is, and to gain an understanding of that, and then to put that understanding into practice as best we can.
Sanje Chodang Soke Chonam La Janju Badu Dhamma Kapsushi Daji Chujen Dipe Tsonamki Chola Benje Sanje Drupa Sho Sanje Chodang Soke Chonam La Janju Badu Dhamma Kapsushi Daji Chujen Dipe Tsonamki Chola Benje Sanje Drupa Sho Sanje Chodang Soke Chonam La Janju Badu Dhamma Kapsushi Daji Chujen Dipe Tsonamki Chola Benje Sanje Drupa Sho Tayata Kate Kate Parakate Parasangate Bodhi Soha Tayata Kate Kate Parasangate Bodhi Soha Tayata Kate Kate Parakate Parasangate Bodhi Soha. 가슴으로도 기부 충분다 기부 정리 받친산이다 기부 침묵가도 들려줘 기부 침묵가도 가서 최대직 시야사인데 이내다 다도 로사베도 고수한테 고고 다가를 가서 기부 침묵 거트는 말 시행했어 그렇죠.
And so that we have, in relation to this text, covered the first two capacities of being, the being of elementary capacity, the being of intermediate capacity, and since we are now beginning quite auspiciously at the beginning of a new year, the path in relation to the being of greater capacity.
기부 충분되네 어느 저 세트로 검하고 왔지. 다 세트로 고가 되어 있나? 아니 치매 된다 죽도 매우 인사 안 세트로 검하고 이제 세트를 치매 개체 왔지. 뭔데 검바 다 지금 못하는 토비에 된다라 아니 지금 가서다 지금 어떻게 가서다 가자 지금 냠내가 맞대 들었다 기부 충분히 요봐. 다 기부 등수도 아니 지금 먼저 고마 토바 이나야 먼저 고마대 코아래 다른 거 먼저 고마 톱 되어 때 이내야 가서 모두를 동네 나서 가지고 요래 얘는 마음 발을 동네 모여에게 아니 지금 등주에 가요 말이야 다 근데 이미도 와다 타바스는 받으면 지금도 상상이다 와다 뒤에도 아니 가서는 다 가자 기부 충분히 또 렌제 송전에 아니 지금 레슨부스 되게 먼저 고마게 레슨부 사다지 년주다 동네를 주 랭이 밥방답지 또 냠슬라도들 기부 충분히 다디 저물리게 출을 용소 다 배제디 공수된 소스도 와 이 코멘트도 와 다데는 다 대사마지 대야 코아래 근데 이마다 다 타바좀 하도 코아 딜다 타와좀 마죠 사진 여월링 풍비 괜히 빵투와좀 마죠 이마이나 타짜나 지금 디그네 줘 디데 다제 마리 보내 뭐바 마리 보내 줘 엔디 네버 다음에 또 배셔러 코네다 다 같이 그래서 람라바서 냠슬라에 다음에 또 배셔러 콤다 다음에 또 배셔러 콤을 땡게지 영화를 죽인 거고 땡게서 하고 여기다 가서 죽인다 땡게서 싫어서 하고 라바서 냠슬라한테 어다 기분 땡게서 어다 넘버 산제에 죽인 거 보내데 되네 tungu요 기분 땡게 또 쉬사버 다 되네 다랑 나시 랑 동해 나와니지 타이베 마게 심지 탐제자 왔다 되는지 동해 나죠 다 대다 탐제가 되는 좀 죄마도 다 지금 가서 지금도 상사잖아 아니 대과 체벽이 다 냠내 제야 되는 기부 치보스 다 나가서 가서 어디 기부 치벽 같은 데 어떻게 안 될라다 가서 기부 딩크 갑소라 안서 다음에 또 배셔라 공고도 단지 말이 베니 뭐 다음에 또 배셔라 거네다 단지 가서 어디잖아 다 싫어져 다 기부 체벽 갈라 다 뒤때라 다음에 또 배셔라 그때라 다 가서 랑젠젠데 다 간제 데 아니 교연 때문에 아니 시행진스 공네 다 간제 자주가 쌤 그거다 냠내 쟤네 다 돈이 더 배시라고 라 자주가 쌤 냠내 쟤네 다 간제 어디를 쟤네 다 간제 태버치 불람비 냠내 쟤다 송고도 하고
And so that's how have we come to this point in the text of beginning the instructions on the greater path, or the greater capacity being's path. And what does that mean, and what is it built upon? It's built upon the previous two paths in relative to the being of elementary capacity, where the emphasis at that point was just on looking at trying to exchange the kind of debilitating emphasis we're putting on just this life, to transform that to emphasizing at least just a future life, a better future life. And that here the practices that therefore are relative to the being of elementary capacity or smaller capacity are those that are defined by and mainly an abidance by the law of cause and effect, where they're looking after their karma in order to purify and avoid causes that might lead to the lower realms above all, and with that then to try and guarantee a precious human rebirth in a fortunate rebirth next time round. So that is the smaller or elementary capacity beings whole kind of really main focus. So when we move on and expand to the medium capacity beings path, that they are become far more aware of that just to have a fortunate rebirth as the main objective of the elementary capacity being isn't enough, because they see that one is still inundated with a plethora of sufferings, and that there is no kind of, one loses the confidence that that samsara itself can produce any definite happiness at all. And so that begins then to develop the motivation to gain liberation from cyclic existence altogether, saying that there's really the only sure possibility to gain happiness, and that one gains then a subtle understanding of the whole workings of a cyclic existence, such that when we are reborn into cyclic existence with these appropriated contaminated aggregates of body and mind, that we are only kind of so prone to suffering, and that it's inevitable for us. And one again gains that realization that it is this particular ignorance with regard to our very essential nature that is at the heart of the suffering that we have to undergo, that we must inevitably have to undergo once we're born into cyclic existence. And it is this special wisdom of selflessness that is the direct antidote to that, and that in order to really develop that that particular wisdom, we need to cultivate a very powerful, focused meditative concentration, and that that concentration in turn relies on being able to abide in perfect ethical conduct, so that the mind is rendered suitable to be able to develop that meditative concentration. And so one at this stage of the intermediate level, or intermediate capacity being, their practice focuses on the three higher paths of ethical conduct, meditative concentration, and wisdom, and seeing the interconnection between them as being absolutely essential. And so whereas the the law of cause and effect was the main focus of the being of elementary or smaller capacity, for the being of intermediate capacity, their main goal is to establish a realization of selflessness, and that this is the reason why they're wanting to develop this particular wisdom of selflessness. and that then achieves their goal of attaining liberation from cyclic existence for themselves. And so from that point then we enter into the teachings relative to the being of greater capacity, which we begin at this point. And that the first understanding of that being is that main goal of the being of intermediate capacity to attain liberation for themselves alone is not enough, really, because it's completely ignoring the fact that all sentient beings are in the same situation, undergoing suffering, and that one cannot simply ignore them. And so one gains this kind of Mahayana or greater capacity perspective, and that's based on understanding, first of all, how our own self-cherishing is really that selfish, narcissistic self-cherishing keeps us from being able to appreciate other sentient beings, so that we can work for their liberation, and developing, on the other hand, the attitude which cherishes others, which really instills a great deal of sense of importance and affection in all others. And that this, of course, leads to our development of what's called the mind of enlightenment, or a bodhicitta, which is the key and therefore the main emphasis of the being of greater capacity.
Pali tradition, the Sanskrit tradition, the Pali tradition, the what teach. The Sanskrit tradition and the Gala, because of the Taiwan market, some Tamjak, Sanya, but Sanskrit tradition of Chadikwa, number tradition, even and what research.
So then where do these, like for 3 parts, for example, fit within, say, the overall world take on spiritual activity or spiritual life? And that if we look at the main objective of the being of elementary capacity is to attain a fortunate rebirth, and so that is something better in the future. And really, this kind of corresponds with other spiritual traditions in the world at the moment as well. It's kind of like more of a conventional idea of spiritual activity, whereas it can be given different names. One attains rebirth in heaven or whatever, but it's always this idea of somehow adjusting our behavior now so that we can have a better existence in the future, however one might call that. And so that you can say then that as far as the path in common with the being of elementary capacity is concerned, that there are a great deal of similarities with other religions, spiritual traditions that are in existence. It's only when one moves on to the path of the being of, in common with the being of medium capacity, that one enters into an exclusively Buddhist view of the world and a Buddhist path, because this is really has a much kind of greater understanding of reality in general, seeing our existence being one of, in the nature of suffering, of this cyclic existence, so that the root of that suffering being this particular ignorance with regard to the true nature of reality, and seeing that selflessness, the wisdom of selflessness, as the perfect antidote to that ignorance. And so that this is then becomes the more of an exclusively Buddhist view, a Buddhist path. And that then and as far as, say, from the the Pali tradition. That's where they would stop, and in the Sanskrit tradition, they are the ones who then kind of develop this further into saying, right, that's fine to attain liberation, but one must take into consideration also countless sentient beings and attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So yes, we begin then the path in relation to the being of greater capacity. So that so then the third of the three main outlines of this text is the training of the mind in the stages of the path of the being of greater capacity. And here it's saying for up till now, covering the paths in relation or in common with the beings of elementary and medium capacity or intermediate capacity, the training of the mind through the trying to apply perfectly the three paths, the three trainings, that one is able to attain liberation from cyclic existence, and that to gain liberation or from cyclic existence for oneself alone. But it's saying that though that is the case, very worthy, that does not that can only partially complete one's own purpose, but also it is only a slight, it cannot really in any way fulfill the purpose of others at all. And so then on the basis of that, because there's the side effect, as it were, of attaining liberation in that way, through that emphasis, that one remains in this kind of meditative absorption for eons and eons and eons at that state of liberation. And at some point one is kind of aroused by the radiant compassion of Amitabha Buddha, who has to click his fingers, and that being in that meditative absorption, as if awakening from that absorption, then is urged to say, look, your path is not finished, you need to continue on to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And at that point, they will then enter into the 5 paths, the first of those being the path of accumulation, and then begin their career on the greater capacity being path. But unfortunately, there's the residual karmas that they have of this very powerful attachment to the bliss of liberation, of nirvana in itself, that meditative absorption, which can be a great hindrance to them as they continue on onto that path. It's kind of like they will be able to develop the different stages to attain the mind of enlightenment, etc. But this particular clinging or attachment to that sense of bliss of meditative absorption is going to be a hindrance for them.
Pero ngaranzo tenete to nyamnu de sayo pen cha ngaranzo pena jigen yongda ge kange ke dunge takasa de chida gyue dunge de ngaranzo yorde ine shira mo sto ma ta kanje ji dunge mo se do na cha ta de ne subu de bo re cha ne ji kowe tunge ya bo jona chöla chö ji dona ji to cover do cover ta da dende ge nyarang ge da chomba de kaso de ta rang ta dunge zawani ne yo mar ba ta 동해 자원인의 매대버다. 동해 자원인의 매대도 아니 가서래 저기 생기 동해라 15주 수정벌리에도 또 가고요. 가고요. 지나도 거듭에 무시 요래 다가니서 동님 모습도 또고 요래 다 자기도 쉬울 때는 요래 얘나야 가버려. 가버 또 가가 용고요. 뒤에다 규르고 거리에 뒤고 고요. 봐. 규르고. 근데 뭐가 더 배나 채딜라 소소 채딜라 배나 년도다 란제기 가서다 배나 채딜라 년도고 초람톡 토람톡 년도고 토람 년도 파파차 야나 란제 파파차 다 파파차도 돈님 모습도 또 주고 돈님 모습도 또 사도 돈님 모습도 또 사도 단도 다 사도 랭이 바사바다 연구요 말이대 이나야 nga lesa le nyaba sabe jebo lujala nyunguyo 동네 nyunguyo 다 되네 이거 가서 다 좀바 토바 있네야 냐랑 그 다좀바 세다리 토바 있네야 세들라 토람도 되네 된도 찍라 다까지 미지 다가라 다 좀바 고바 토바 있나 류를 동네 nyungu요 다 동네 사도 사바 nyungu요 말입니다 nga le nyebe 동네 nyungu요 다 태바 첨부 있나 세들라 토람 탑 사도 아니 가서 류내 쪽으로 동네 nyungu요 말이야 대들이 개발 연구도 봐. 가서 다 돈님 모습도 또 배시라고 예배 가나 장주가 쌤 위에서 개발 시우쇼도 봐. 그래서 파파나다 가와니 치외 동네 쟤네 봐 수고도 파파스 톱사도 파파서 톨람 터나 파파 톱사 파파나 디 대과 첨부를 쓰고 여름에 또 녀랑 쓰고 녀랑 동네 여래.
So this claim of that the intermediate level arhat really of having attained liberation from cyclic existence is that that they do so through gaining this particular meditative absorption and abiding in that meditative absorption once they have attained liberation. Now that this becomes an obstacle then to further progress on the path once they are awakened to do so, to really enter into the Mahayana vehicle. That this can be understood through our own experience, because when, for example, we are more or less free in a temporary sense from normal worldly problems, that our own life is going well and we have a great deal of comfort, not that much suffering at all for us. It's kind of like in those situations it's difficult to engage in spiritual practice. It's not like there we kind of like we're too absorbed into the goodness and the happiness of what a modern life can give us, and so we don't have time and to think about things like suffering and so on, and that this then is is kind of comparative to the being of in meditative absorption, in liberation, in the state of nirvana, that it's very difficult for them to be able to then appreciate the suffering of others immediately. And so therefore it's more difficult, even though they have attained emptiness, etc., they have great qualities of mind, but that simple being able to empathize with others is kind of like they are challenged in that sense to be able to do that because of their clinging or their experience even in meditative absorption. And so this also pointed out that even though one has attained that state of liberation, one has attained the state of an arhat in the hearer or solitary realizer vehicles, the individual liberation vehicle teachings, that one does not create any more new karma, suffering karmas, but one is still susceptible to the previous karmas that one has created, and one can experience physical suffering, even though one has attained that state of an arhat. And that is the arhat that still kind of is in that same body once they have attained that state, that they haven't like passed on again, from that body, the same body in which they've attained that liberation. So this differs very much from, say, the person on the Mahayana vehicle who has moved through the path of accumulation, the path of preparation, and has attained the path of seeing, their first realization of emptiness. For them, at the simultaneous with the attainment of that first realization of emptiness, they attain a pure body, which is not susceptible to suffering at all. So that's an added kind of benefit of the training in conjunction with the development of the mind of enlightenment. That's the power of bodhicitta that brings that about. So in short, that the realization of emptiness is the same for both the arhat and the person practicing the bodhisattva path and the Mahayana path, but the difference is in the cultivation of the mind of enlightenment for the latter.
가서를 다 간제 뒤 계지만 찍라 아니 랑기 류자 주토바 산제게 신갸를 쉐니가 줘토바 와다 된데게 다 가자 현재 된데 자타 중이 되는 예요 다 되가 그 가서 장주가 셈그 똑그도 장주가 셈그 똑
And so therefore that being on the Mahayana vehicle, attaining the path of seeing, is the Anarya Bodhisattva, and that they simultaneously attain this purity of body, which no longer experiences suffering. At the same time, they enter the grounds of the Bodhisattva, and that's the first ground on which in each moment they can emanate 100 bodies, and in each moment be able to go to 100 Buddha realms and receive teachings there, etc. All this through the power of the mind of enlightenment of bodhicitta.
타도 대과 찍으려다 타도 대과 숨말이 타도 대과 찍이도 타마 될다 다른 상계 좀 되게 이제 최근 남자 타여 봤대 안 다가는 이제 대과 숨을 남나서 봤대 타도 티사디 하는 상계 고마 티야 해 상계 고마 다 조사 찍이 맞지라 다 조사 타도 찍이 맞지라 다 조다 다 감다 매번 민자요 온게 다 조다 민자진 다 티다 민자죠 티고도 로그 누가 지정을 되네 지고도 다 소소그 안에 지금 네배 쪼바 있나 누가 소도바나 당분에 택견라면 슈도바 있나 당분에 택견라면 슈도바 있나 아니 그 조사 찍라 조대 숨전 좀 먹어 왔지는 그 돈 대부적 조투야지 and dear Lam Mura Chikawa Yorba. Or what that then Tamuna takes a lam Shuelata. Jump better check what.
So ultimately, one speaks of there not really being three vehicles as described of, say, like the hearer vehicle, the solitary realizer vehicle, and the Mahayana vehicle or bodhisattva vehicle. Really, there is ultimately only one vehicle, and that is the vehicle whose aim is to attain the state of enlightenment, of Buddhahood, for the benefit of sentient beings. And indeed, why we have then this semblance of three different vehicles. It's really true to the teachings of the Buddha himself, who taught in accordance with the many different personalities and dispositions of those who were listening to his teachings as to what they were capable, what their capacity was. But ultimately, even for the beings on the hearer and solitary realizer vehicles, they will enter the Mahayana vehicle to strive to attain a state of or a state of enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, and that therefore, if one has that capacity, it is said to be always preferable to enter the Mahayana vehicle from the start. It is the Mahayana vehicle will make that the path towards a state of enlightenment for the benefit of all easier, quicker and more efficient.
Melbourne City, camera, Mongol law, Mogo, and a cup to try, they don't dig it. Because Benatrosa, Sydney drawing, but Tenebata, Tenepaja, City, camera, industry, Pacheva logo, because of the Sydney draw, Sharja Sydney draw, they don't dig it.
So it's like comparing it to a journey from Melbourne to Sydney. If one can go the direct path, directly there, it is of course you're going to get there faster, and as opposed to having many diversions to Canberra or elsewhere, is certainly going to slow you down and cost you time.
And more expensive. That didn't you had it, come to me when not so in it, didn't you had the Kaduso, that around the soil to do that. Kaba, Jinian Dugal, Pachama, Rangela, Pachama, the Tebachimol Bata, that and go to the ground that was a Matutanda. Rata, Nazuka, Kaba Drogo, Canistrogo, the Hakobeton, and Manovaja Betujet. What did that did? And Pajaja, and the Tebachimol competition, Chamboja, that you might Lambda show on make a Tuzuchi on to, and the Pajat Sam with
And so that so now is the time like where we have this kind of grounding that we need to make an unmistaken choice as to which path do we proceed along. Is it the hearer vehicle, the solitary realizer vehicle, or the Mahayana vehicle? And that it's very important that if we have any seed imprint for the Mahayana vehicle, it is now that we should try to awaken that and to choose unerringly.
Because of the Sunday, Tuja, we say the Queen and Tebachim Lam Chuko, because Raquel Chigla, Zejani, Josa, Zatan Chigla, Zatu, Chilayan, Jotan Nij and Chogos, Tabu Mayim Bachan, Tanguin, Tajan Lamdo, and Ju Bateta, that Ju to a Petrich, the Yapodes, Godes, Rites, Pajan Dubalia, Chigan, Donju, Sula, Tumebe, Tebani, Dendo, Panjane. Panjane to get Teba Ninja Debala, Shembel Roger, Rapshi, Data, Jukje, Tangusa.
And so then, as Geshe has been saying, then one is aroused by the radiant compassion of the Buddhas from one's meditative absorption, and into one must definitely enter the Mahayana vehicle. And it's just like saying, making sure that one does not get sidetracked, that one is able to proceed directly with purpose from the very beginning. And so therefore one is advised, if one has the capacity, to enter into the Mahayana vehicle from the outset. And there's a quote from the Short Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, which says, "Always forsake the two vehicles, futile for benefiting the world, and enter the proven vehicle of victory, that compassionate teaching whose very nature spells benefit for others."
Lam Juk Jesu, the money taken Lam Juk to a Chibures, Jesu Meche, Tena Kibu Chimber Lam de Rimbala, Lojawala, Ni, Janju, same Kiba Suda, and same Ken Jobala Lam Watch.
And then there's another quote from the Kadampa Geshe's Blue Book of Spells, which says, "Don't backtrack on the long journey, enter the Mahayana at the outset." And so then entering into the training in the stages of the path of the being of greater capacity has two subheadings. One is how to generate the mind of enlightenment, and secondly, having generated the mind of enlightenment, how to set about training oneself.
Kibu Chungu Lango Trota, Tingi Longa Trota, the Yabu Chibetona, and then Kibu Chibula, that is any Kibu Chibutala, you never bother Mabaton Chorba. That you never bother Mabatona, that Timajana Tamento, did Jay to Zude, that to do Shabbat Remonto, that me Ludel to Cousin, did things Sabuchi, some time to Nubachimena. What to go, Marma? That thing, Sabu, some time to Nubamuneta, me Ludel to your insa, that chair to do Tande visit the Redomoto, Shanku Remoto. Dear, and it happened that Yella Lam Rim Chiwa and Chiwa Neva, Namchi, Chiwa, Chimado, Kanji Meba, Kanja Meba insa, or that Tandan Jeko, that touch to some such and that Jetua Chia, that gets what a dog.
So that on the outset here, it's really important to consider all of what we have studied and trained and understood from the past relative to the beings of elementary and intermediate capacities as well, and see to build on that, to see then that we have to, in that context, in view of that, to see the limitless qualities actually that are associated with the being of greater capacity here, and to really think, now I have this human body, I have this human potential, and that's here in the context also of the teachings on death, that I have covered as well. And that I know death is definite, the power of the time of death is indefinite, and the only thing that's going to be of benefit at the time of death is the spiritual practice that I have. And so it's really important for me to make that decision and to go for it now, not to waste any more time. That here is my opportunity to really fulfill the potential that's given to me with this precious human body.
And it's done to set the bush there in a some look never Matai to do in Buddha, so Tamu Toido, Kasha Palace, Kasha Summers, meet the media, Kalasa to go so what the Chibatan to go your day in a some look never made a Mambu take it to Japan Theatre, taking Nesumambu to that Jim. Me in Bemese, and it's to Lubu with Neta there, Tontajo, singing Neta there, that Yatachu. Then they can't some there, but it's a Comborwa. Comborwa, I machine settings there in a mean you were Pusum Sapa, you had a Comborwa. That the chance some David to do the Dejilla, that to repeat the Madonna, that jealous consumption, Nimagic Chili Jet when you got Yorba.
And also, to understand that, even if we are, blessed with a long life, that it's not a kind of straightforward thing, that we can really, fulfill all of the potential of the body and mind that we have attained in this life. and it's so easy to get ourselves kind of distracted with food and reputation or whatever else, that there's so much time that simply just goes to waste, and that we have to be very wary of this, and to see that how to be able to make the most of this opportunity by making the most of the time I have, and to really work on fulfilling the full potential that is really available to me in this situation. So then, continuing with the outlines that will be covered subsequently, that we then with regard to generating the mind of enlightenment itself, that has two subheadings. One is the actual generation of the mind of enlightenment, and then there is the generation of the mind of enlightenment by means of a ritual or ceremony. And with regard to the first of these, the actual training of generating the mind of enlightenment, there are two methods that are outlined. The first of these is the generation of the mind of enlightenment by means of the 7 cause and effect instruction. And secondly, the generation of the mind of enlightenment through the equalizing and exchange of self and others.
Lotita Janju Semson Chawarwata, what I did Janeta, Rangi, Sana, Tuna, Tona, Kaju Inaya, Takaja, because of the Sanjay Kulu Jotikich Takaja, Lamam, should you want to what you want to do? What I did that day you want to let that look Gomni Yongo Remando, look Gomni Yongo Remando, Dada, Dana Gonzo Ran, Shukchum, you can say, Chikaso, Sik to Jachi, and 교주잖아 케마도 된대지게 자주 선바 차도요 말이야. 나 자주 선바 쓰게 단다 먼저 그 랑스비 개치고 시대디 아니 파 뒤참들라 아니 셰게치고 시대게치 아니 지 셰스는 먼저 도나시라 맞게 뒤참들라 아니 랑 뒤참들라 샤투게치 다 된대전 레도다 셰스도다 지가소래다 다다면 랑스데 같이 개치고 쓰고 요번나 신지게 다 셰살로 따두는 지 로치게 구로 다디 남게 봐나 라자주 선바성 책을 봐.
So here then to begin here, one needs to understand the whole notion of all sentient beings, and why then the mind of enlightenment needs to be focused on all sentient beings without exception. And the one who has that mind is known as a bodhisattva. And that here, that the bodhisattva is one who really endeavors to dedicate all of their actions, regardless of what they are, towards the benefit of all others, and that and in doing so, to dedicate it all to creating causes for the attainment of enlightenment, and that this is a mind that needs to be strongly, obviously, habituated to. One must really see this as like the very essence of life. And that especially in the context of where we stand at the moment, where we're really shackled by a selfish consideration towards ourselves, this self-cherishing attitude, where we place so much importance on our own selves and our own thoughts and our own rights, etc. And that how one is so easily offended even by one contrary word spoken to us. That this shows that we're a long way from the mind of enlightenment if we're so prone to being offended in that way. So it's very, very important that we really start to consider, on the one hand, how debilitating that sense of self-importance, self-aggrandizement, self-cherishing is, and to work towards swapping that attitude, so that how we consider ourselves to be so important is how we should now start to consider others to be as important. And that to place all of that emphasis that we place on ourselves, all of that cherishing and that we place on ourselves, and to transform it, transfer it over to how we consider others.
단단 말아서 랑라 지기 떼레 당하는 랑라 지기 가서도 미기 지기 약보를 라와이나 랑 가고 싶으셔야 가고 싶으셔야지. 아니 시야가 지잖아 랑라 샤 촤다 랑게 셈다 녀보셔야이나 거내줄로 봐 랑게 가고 지사 미지기 약보라나 소소 가고 용이야. 랑 제zen 김생을 하면도 강사들 약보라비 김생 말 녜 것이마 녜 빈자 녜 가고 녜 사상 녜 파마 근데 김생 기전에 미지기 약보라나 소소 가고 용이야. 나 김생에도 와. 다 근데 매바잖아. 나 김생 매바잖아. 강사 소리 제만에 들라 연대 저거이나 소소 기부 차야지. 강사 소리 제만에 들라 겨잖아. 소소 기부 매바 차야지. 와 근데게 딱 라라 독자라고 요만한 신체네. 와 근데게 로직다. 로직 차고도 와. 로직 레고도 다다 말아 저게 지 가서래 가서 라라 야볼라나 가그래. 라게 마가사 질라 야보를라나 소소 가기 말해. 다들 숙청을 열어 알아서 돼. 숙청을 또 와. 다 랑게 가서 질라 야보를라나 가기 열어. 랑게 가서 질라 야보 말을라나 가기 열 말해. 다들 가 야보 삼도들 랑 젠젠게 다 같이 지 시황도 좋대도 와. 다들 뭐지? 가서 수임바이네. 들려 연대 주나 가나 요야지. 가서 수이네 들려 견지 주나 하나 랑을 견주 제원의 생기 지금 미스바 용하지. 와 근데 지금 로직 다 범고 요래.
So again, to become very, very sensitive to the degree to which we are controlled by our own self-cherishing is very helpful in this case. And here, even if, we notice that someone praises us for some reason, we have this lovely feeling. Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We love it. And that... but if another person is praised, we either have no feeling at all. But if they're another person who we really like, our friend or relative or something like that, we enjoy their being praised. But it's all built. That enjoyment is itself twisted. And it's built into our self-cherishing, because we're only enjoying it because they're my relative, my friend, my partner, my child, And so it's really poisoned by the self-cherishing attitude. And of course, if someone we dislike is praised, then we hate that. They don't deserve it. Why should they be praised? And so on. They're not good like that at all. And so we have this kind of it's an attitude that's playing with us constantly, that we want to put ourselves out first and to diminish others, and that here and it's a very powerful habit that we have, an almost automatic, instantaneous response or reaction that we have, and we must understand the degree to which we are under the power of that self-cherishing. That to get and to see how it drives us to these extremes.
아니 랑기 초다 랑기 도고 랑기 초라 연대 죄라 가고 이렇게 랑다 랑기 초 마인게라 아니 견죄라 가고 이렇게 연대 죄라 막하게 아니 연대 권이 되고 말다 근데 좀 먹고 또 되게 사고도나 맞잖아 랑수 용 되기도 와.
And we can see that, of course, if we pay attention to what's going on, we can see this sort of bias, terrible bias that we have. That if everything that is part of my side, my family, my friends, my partner, me, my qualities, if they're like praised, if anything good happens there, that brings forth this automatic sense of I like. It's good. Whereas if those who are not part of my gang or my scene, or those who I dislike, if they are praised in any way, if good fortune befalls them in any way. And I dislike that. I don't like that at all. Yeah, so it's like whether we say that or not is one thing, but there's this action going on in the mind, isn't it? That there's a certain irritation, discomfort and dislike going on in our minds in that case. So there's always this kind of discrimination going on within us, and that's the action of the self-cherishing attitude. And that's mental affliction. That's all mental affliction. And so that's when we pay enough attention to that and the fact of how afflictive it is, we can see that this is what stands in the way of our not being able to establish the happiness we want and being inundated with the suffering we don't want.
Dila dunga joda kange chawar konde kabu yore kane kan labna malana kabu yonde dia nyomo gugop tege toa ta diga ga mo to na yakpo mache ba ina mo tekba chembo ye che jigo ye sinje tamje sanje goma dubi sigi la denzu go go dang go.
And so that we can see again how it works, that if our enemy or the one we dislike is praised in some way, or some quality of theirs is being praised by others, we get this feeling of dislike in our own minds. We don't have to say anything, but it's there. We disapprove of it, and that's suffering, isn't it? That's suffering, and that's a mental affliction that brings that about. To see that's traced back to a mental affliction in our minds. And just the same way that if the other, the enemy, is encountering some problems in life or has reached met with some obstacle, we get this feeling of, oh, I like that, I'm satisfied, I get a kick out of their suffering. And again, you're just handing over the opportunity to the mental affliction to have its way. And so you can see how you're kind of manipulated like that by your own mental afflictions constantly. Yeah. Even though you're on this kind of bandwagon of, I want to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, and you keep repeating this, but inside there's a total different story going on. You're dominated by your own self-cherishing.
ane chigi tagani chigi tela tena ane soso ki chigi kaso ta subui ne debu mewa chaya da semi ne kibu mewa chaya da gyugen mungpo chugdo da katsara chigi nanglo ki ane sem ka samlo tangtang ki ane chigi kaso de shide yume la tena subu tetang yume de kebashi yogo duwa ta sem logo chaya babe chigi ane chigi shide yabu chunga yinba yina ane chaga gyulam duda subu dega yogo yore ane chwe da chigden kari chigi nipa chibu che dugu yore 어떻게 요거도 다 사무 당당 지금 가서래 지금 남도 가서다 지금 가서도 남도 군들라네 아니 지금 녀모를 잡죠전에 치바이나 아니 샘기고 요말 들었더니 아니 소소가 딱 같이 이몸 시스템 뒤져야 하고 내가 들었더니 지금 다 류다 샘니가라 아니 대담에게 나자 용게 강에 참고도 봐. 다 내가 아니 취하면 봐 지당 알아 수부 대담에 개치 보지래도 봐.
And so to habituate to this kind of discriminating, judgmental attitudes that we have, it can easily waste a life, kind of like, as it were, cultivating those kinds of discriminations, and that this can lead to in many ways. You can see it around us, like people having physical problems, mental problems, due to these kind of discriminative attitudes, small-minded attitudes. And it's all about how our inner thinking, how we are able to bring about inner thinking, because this is what really is at the heart of whether we're going to have a peaceful, happy mind, therefore peaceful or happy life. It's all about how we are able to manage and control our thinking. But if we are within motivated by this self-cherishing attitude, whereby we start off with the motivation based on a mental affliction, then that's going to have debilitating effects, not just for our mental well-being, but it can also, say, in kind of recent reports, talk about compromising our own immune system and having health problems on the basis of that. And so that here we must understand that even aside from spiritual practice, Dharma practice, it's important to have good physical health as well.
because the ngaran to be subject tamje sanje koma to be siete ya rang samlo tang tang da jida mati wa chige and dil ne ge joye ane mutu no khwal ne ge gyuji tup da na mo to sa de ngo to go do wa chom자 go do pena mila kusap che mila pha ya bu che wa ina an ko gugap singres ga ji da chige na de to senge boss be bore o de de che wa na khoran kasa gugap singres ko du ine 가서 소절에 ene gugap simne ene 지금 가서 캡산 링크 됐어. 근데 시간 또 배우도 와. 문에 전에 캡산에는 약시 들어왔다. 그래서 세부 셔봐이나. 문에 전에 최적에 지나 밑에 무슨 균에 팽기도나 다 약보러 와. 이 팽기 요바 소소 하고에 토네. 아니 들라 가와 고메다. 아니 모두네 되게 제도에 제마도네 제도에 들 몰람 자야 되게 좀 와. 가서 gugap sim부터 다른 제들레 사서 와. 또 보셔봐이나. 다 구급스는 나를 경험하라 그래서 그거 다 랑체 들려서 그래. 이는 알아서 가 두부이 가 스마트 ting기도 와. 그래서 가서는 랑체인데 빼 고대 보여 봐.
So this requires this being able to, on the one hand, really out our self-cherishing dominance, and to be able to habituate towards the opposite of that, of really working to maximize potential in this life. It requires very strict and deep focus, and we need to pay attention to how we are operating at our own mental, verbal, physical level constantly. And very important for us that we see the difference between this paying respect that is just outward in order to gain some worldly advantage, which is very much promoted in a modern kind of society of grabbing the opportunity to make profit or whatever in this society, and that's counted as something which is at the peak of human life. Very smart individuals they can do that, but we have to be able to distinguish between what really behavior is simply only creating not only causes for cyclic existence but the lower realms and so on, and what is has much more far-reaching long-term beneficial effects for us. And so that in other words, that from a spiritual point of view, to try to steer all of our actions of body, speech and mind to be of indirect or direct benefit to others as much as possible, and if not, to be able to at least engage in aspirational prayer so that I can be more effectively beneficial to others in the future, and to kind of really start to develop the whole culture, our own personal culture of really emphasizing benefit towards others as being the smart way to live life.
반제 어떤 게 제반에 미팅 갈 구급습니다. 어때 삼로때 패체 디 란체적 삼로쇼 처벌해 되거든. 딱까지 디 강요는 매바 지지. 구급습나 국업 쓰는 돈도 캡산 렘바는 약수 들어봤다. 그래서 나랑도 장주 선배 켈렌제도 아니 내 류당 류가 예수도 아니 심제 탐제라 아니 뭐 자원이 다 심제 탐제 가지 떠진 거는 롱제쇼 슬러그 열었다. 그봐 가오검 스타키랑도 가오검 가서 내가 류다 심제 켈랑도 되는 땅 자원이 있어. 다 장주 심 걔도 가서 다 도만에도 더 지고 열었다.
And so that you know, to move away from the sort of trying to manipulate kind of for kind of material benefit, saying that if I do this, if I show this kind of respect, I might get this opportunity for profit or whatever.
말에 되는 맞다. 딱 가서 딱 먼저 파 인데서 코란을 야구제 구샵 제바 있나 가서 코란 국업 승거렸어. 못이네 그 못이네 cap산 링거스. 뭐 디서 디랑 제제다. 디랑 제제제. 먼저 디장 마스마티 인테그도 와. 다디 삼로 야구제 마다나 되네랑 제제 레고도 와.
Sorry. It's actually the thing of if one considers that, you know, if I'm you know, paying respect and wanting to place myself at the behest of everybody, that they will take advantage of me, and that this is a mindset that we must really watch out for, because if we think that. That's under the influence of our self-cherishing attitude, and because after all, if one takes on the bodhisattva ideal of wanting to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, it actually implicitly you have already dedicated everything, every ounce of energy and potential of your body, speech and mind for the benefit of others. You've already donated it, and so therefore you cannot have this attitude of holding back because you think people are taking advantage. So this, of course, is a very common attitude to arise for beginners, especially, that, you know, if I'm constantly out there trying to help others, they will take that opportunity, take advantage of me, and that we have to say that it can be a very natural thought to arise for somebody who is on the path or beginning the path in that way, but one must still be able to isolate it and name it for what it is, and that it is coming from my self-cherishing attitude, and in the course of one's training, one will see just how sly and how insidious and how smart our self-cherishing attitude is.
그래서 대대가 요와라 셈 담보기라 셈 코이냐마 단용 셈 지게고도 근데 단용 셈도 예배다는 근데 마시 답변은 마시 진짜서 요원 잡았다 그저 라서 남다치는 자주 셈 계나 다 되게다 단용 셈 고마지 어디서고도 어디서
And so then, in relation to the two main methods for generating the mind of enlightenment, being the 7 cause and effect instruction and the equalizing and exchange of self and others, both are fully qualified to produce the result that they aim for, the development of the mind of enlightenment. And that, and it's said that from the outset, however, prior to beginning those trainings, the first thing one should try to do is to develop a mind of equanimity in relation to all sentient beings, that this is very important.
이바데다 셰투바 체네 셰투바 체네 다디가도 좀제 뭔가 거는 사모타네 메도 람장 모트에 가보러와 나 좀제 뭔가 거는 사모타네 아니 모트바 체네 아니 지금 가서 모트바 체네 아니 지금 셴체제 공부도다 랑체제 슈충도다 데 배주 지금도 와 어디들도 하고 들으
And so that so from the outset that within all of these stages of training, that the main emphasis to develop the mind of enlightenment is to see the main fault as being one's own self-cherishing, and to really become very, very highly acquainted with that in order to be able to counter that. And to see the main benefit to being able to generate the mind of enlightenment is to constantly fuel the mind which cherishes others, and to see the great benefits of being able to do that. And so it's this gradual process of, on the one hand, reducing the influence and the power of self-cherishing by seeing its faults very, very clearly, and by increasing the power and prevalence of the mind which cherishes others by seeing the great qualities that are associated with it.
다음에 생겨지게 그까지 가서 대바데 시시 그 다지다 대바데 시시에서 검자도 지금现在 검도들 做 말에 그것도 이내 뒤주고 말에 그것도 이내 제시가 스미드 개체버렸고 다들 이도 장주 생명량에 지금 속에 랑전전의 계기도 계기면도 현재의 계기도 계기면도 랑전의 계기면도나 랑전의 계기도나 개바도 못 쳐봤더네 아니 숙촌다 다해 현재의 계기면도나 개바 마개바도 못 쳐봤더네 아니 개바 용답체 용화의 숙체다 다해 다들 아니 제시가 송대 아니 컨디션이 바이네 아니 현재의 계획이 아니 그래서 통계를 배주 당투에 랑전의 숙촌다 주에 아니 통계를 배주 당투에 로아다 와들이 잡다 가지고 가두이네 아니 뒤돌다 숙자 누버ten 숙자 거지 제국이 서와 거들.
And then, as usual, the two of the main mental factors that are crucial to one's success in developing the mind of enlightenment are mindfulness and alertness. And that we have heard of these in conjunction with developing, mental quiescence and so on. But that these two mental factors are applicable in all our spiritual practice at all times. They should be constantly cultivated, and that here their purpose will be to become mindful and aware of the arising whenever of a self-cherishing attitude, of anything that's related to that selfishness within, that narcissistic attitude, the self-obsession and so on, and to see it for what it is, the fault in it and the faults associated with it, and therefore to counteract it and to diminish it as much as possible. And then likewise with our mindfulness and alertness to recognize the mind which cherishes others when it arises, to promote that attitude, to really see the great qualities of it, and to see the far-reaching beneficial effects of it, and to want to assist, empower that attitude of mind as much as possible.
어디다 어디다 심지어 탐제가 셈 마션의 자주게 봐야지 마션의 자주게 셈바리 고바 임베 제가 니제 담보 그래서 튠주고 벌을 지다지 튠잠을 지다지 담보다 튠주고 벌을 정을 주숨 정을 주숨 저거다 정을 주숨 저거다 참.
And so then this at the outset to cultivate the attitude of equanimity towards all sentient beings. And thereafter going through the different 7 cause and effect instruction, from recognizing all sentient beings as having been one's mother to right up to the mind of enlightenment itself. Then that will be dealt with in terms of what to do in the course of a session of meditation, what to do in between session times. And with regard to the first, dividing up the session from the preliminaries through the actual session and through the conclusion.
간제자 중앙이나 그 남주 제원 람림도 소신도 좋고 다치고 소신도 좋고 아니 소신도 거면 야라도 멘데데 저 앞에 다까지 똑바퀴를 깨고 소사티 자체 아니 멘데데 저 앞에 멘데데 돈치 무슨 거는 소았다네 소다까지 가서데 다까지 소았다네 다 비에제 어디 간제자 다까지 제 가서데 저 가서데 신이 때문에 전다 다까지 밀로가 소주 보게 아니 저 가서데 다또 가서데 그래서 다 똑같이만 가지고 디파트 좀 다해 안티 똑같이게 보다 되게 쳐도 다 같이 가서도 다 뒤쳐도 다 뒤쳐 뭐 숨겨 거는다 어쨌다 어떻게 쳐도 아니 다 같이 야라도 보면 됐지 어떻게 아니 되네 다 기고 가서도 소신도 야뒤네 아니 지고라 다 같이 랑이 지고라 다 같이 가서도 라마 그래서 다 잠에 그래서 잠에 군두가 다 라마 동안도 차차 어디 섬다 어디지 우리 어디지 뭐 시체 어디지
And so then, the beginning here, the preliminaries will be as per usual to generate the merit field in front, and to engage in the practice of the 7 limb prayer and the offering of mandalas in the course of knowing that we must generate positive merit on the one hand. And so there's the generation of positive merit, and then the purification of negativities, all associated with those practices, to make supplications to our Guru, to be able to, diminish or kind of purify all faults, such as showing any disrespect to our spiritual teacher, up to including any misunderstanding we have about the true nature of reality, and to be able to generate all realizations without exception, and to, in course of that, also of course eliminate all obscurations and negativities since beginning this time. And so once we have generated this, then we can dissolve the merit field down to the central figure of Guru Munindra Vajradhara. And then on our own crown, we have our prepared seat of lotus, moon and sun disk. And we have all mother sentient beings all around us, and focusing on the central figure, Guru Munindra Vajradhara, with all together with all these mother sentient beings with a mind of faith. So then there's the recitation of that supplication prayer from the miraculous book of the Gelugpas. My most divine Guru, Lord of the 4 Kayas, I make petition to you, Shakyamuni Vajradhara. My most divine Guru, Lord of unimpeded Dharmakaya, I make petition to you, Shakyamuni Vajradhara. My most divine Guru, Lord of blissful Sambhogakaya, I make petition to you, Vajradhara, etc. And then we make the supplication that we will be able to develop the mind of equanimity, free of attachment and anger, holding some close and others distance towards all mother sentient beings. Develop that in the minds of all sentient beings, and then to also generate the understanding of all sentient beings as having been one's mother, to remembering that kindness, to wishing to repay that kindness, to develop affectionate love, the mind of compassion, and a special resolve and leading to the development of the mind of enlightenment itself as a realization. And we again make this supplication to our Guru Deity, please bless me to make this so.
And just saw the energy will Lamalay and the Kule and the Tuzenanga said the Gyumpan, Russia, Simja Tamjagan, Luda, similar sugar, Tomamels at the weather Tiba Tamjeta, Keba Tuya, and the Simja Tamjala, Niri Chatan that Tanum Kevala, Kebata, and the Mashe tinted to Chamni Janjuga Simke, Toba Kebaja Kevala, Kiri, Tibata, Janshitaba Chuso, some such.
And then as a result of making that supplication, then the 5 colored nectar lights emanate from the crown of our Guru and enter into us, myself and all sentient beings are all around, into our bodies and minds, and such that we are completely purified of all negativities and obscurations that we have accumulated since beginningless time. And particularly we are purified of all obscurations and negativities that might interfere with our developing the mind of equanimity, which he sees which is free of attachment and anger, holding some close and others distant, and also the negativity and obscurations preventing us from realizing all seeing all sentient beings as one's mother, repaying that kindness, remembering that kindness, repaying that kindness, developing affectionate love, the great compassion, the special resolve, and the realization of the mind of enlightenment. And that then through this purifying nectar light streaming through our bodies and minds, our own bodies become in the nature of pure, clear light. We are endowed with long life, merit, and increasing realization and understanding of the scriptural and realizational teachings. And in particular, we feel we have the potential to realize equanimity, the mind which is free of attachment and anger, holding some close and others distant, and indeed be able to realize all the different causes of seeing all sentient beings as one's mother, remembering that kindness, wishing to repay that kindness, developing affectionate love, great compassion, the mind of resolve and of special resolve, and leading to that result of generating the mind of enlightenment. And so then this completes that outline of dealing with the preliminaries to the actual session itself. And the second of these then is the actual body of the meditative session. And here we will look into how to generate or in the context of the 7 cause and effect instruction, one prior to that, we will see how one generates the mind of equanimity towards all sentient beings. Because it said if we do not develop equanimity but later develop love and compassion, then both the love and compassion that we generate will be biased and partial. It won't be complete, fully qualified. And that then such partial or compromised love and compassion cannot be great love or great compassion, and that because essentially this love and great compassion is necessary to develop the mind of enlightenment, it needs to be completely unbiased and impartial.
다들 이제 그런 거죠. 심전 탐제 심전 건강에 자주 고주 고고다 차고 99% 9 point 잡아드니 이제 끼고 여봐이네. 다 가서 다 원체 끼고 문도나 어디 생이 잡고 봐. 다가란 게 다 뒤인데 다 내가 집어 차대도 와. 근데서 심전 탐제라. 심전 탐제서 심전가 무엇인 거예요 말다. 무엇인 거예요 말다. 심전이 인사배치라 될라는 랑게 가서다 가자 지가서데 저 마셰티데서 요 잡아라 된 딱까지 닝제 검토해지 동네를 미셔 먹지 대화 된도 잡아게 통해서 다 쏘고요. 근데 저 소마도 봐 이나 심지 가서 심지 찍하와 이나 99.9 99% 9 point 끼고 여봐 이네 딱까지 심지 깡찍네 디제토사 말스게 봐 이나 아니 저는 영어라 살다.
So this is to point out the essential factor of this particular love and compassion that is mentioned in this context. Has to be the focus of such love and compassion has to be all sentient beings without exception. You cannot have that love and compassion for just 99.9%, but to leave some out. Then it doesn't qualify as the great love and great compassion that's necessary here. It's very important. So it has to be for all sentient beings. It doesn't matter that we do not recognize all the sentient beings. The very fact of any being being a sentient being qualifies them for the compassion that I should have, the love I should have for them. And that if I leave one out, then and say I can't have compassion or love for that one, then that's our shortcoming, that's our fault.
다른 이제 먼저 심지어 펜토스도 강가를 디렉트 펜토가지고 용거만 가서 나라서 펜토한테 리미테이션돼 세요래. 다 이나야 소수 가리 제바데 심지어 강가를 펜토에 유튜브도 제일 계정물에.
And so that when we talk about wanting to benefit all sentient beings, of course it does not mean that we can benefit all sentient beings directly. We just don't have the capacity to do that, not now. But what we must do is develop the attitude of mind to do our very best and to be always laying down the causes that we will be able to expand our capacity to benefit more and more sentient beings all the time.
칼라사바이네 칼라사바티 심제 탐제를 펴 유튜브도 봤지 우땅바이네 우땅바데 심제 탐제를 펴 유튜브도 봤지 그거 다 다가네 소소 보고다 파마다 저거 정말 팬도 지금 여번 디 팬도 제바데 심제 탐제를 팬도에 유대네 유튜브 봤지 어다 디레.
And so this means that we are really commandeering every single action that we engage in throughout a day. And to focus it on developing what we're doing for the benefit of sentient beings. So if we're eating food, we are aware of that we're doing so in order to be benefit to sentient beings. If we're breathing in and out, we should be doing so with an awareness that we're doing so in order to try and benefit sentient beings. If we're helping our parents, our child, our friends, our partner, whatever, and that our motivation is that this may be of benefit to sentient beings, all sentient beings in the future. And so in this way, we are cultivating that great attitude of mind.
먼저 exercise 지금도 찍거래. exercise 당근에 수고 대단 연구 말아 봐. 아니 그때 세드네 숙체다 체다 두고도 와. 그래서 녀마 제바데 제마 제토에들 편도 되기도 와. 어디다 되는지 먼저 심정도 된도서에도 당근에 강가 제도 가와요. 미시 말아 봐. 근데 연나 산제 계제 잠에 좀 초사 집장 제거 좀 세면도 와. 가서 그 당근에 제토고 매봐 인자. 먼저 그 제는 누가 야다 두고 여러 봐. 찍어라.
So it's just like doing physical exercise. If you haven't done any training for a long time at the beginning, it's quite difficult, isn't it? And that one is very stiff, and it hurts. But with habituation, we become more and more supple and stronger, and we can engage in these kind of exercises with little difficulty after some time. It's the very same with our development of that mind of enlightenment, that we need to see that yes, we are limited at the outset. It can be quite difficult for us, but again, with training, there's nothing that does not become easier through training. And that it's important that it's like this. Otherwise, the Buddha would not have to have gone through 3 countless great eons, accumulating merit and purifying negativities to attain enlightenment, would he? So we should do what we can in order to be of benefit to as many as we can, as often as we can, and to understand that whether what we do becomes an actual cause for enlightenment depends on the motivation that we do that action with. And so it's very important to really establish our motivation at all times as well.
아니 저거 다저 수다 깨져 셔바나 수다 투어이네 되게 간가 안에 저거 랑게 지금 가서데 딱가자 저거 가서데 타바다 탐지 캠에게 아니 저와 조투 맞을 심지어 탐지가 되어 두고 있어 왔다 딜에서는 땅 저거 딜라 때는 산제 고마 두고 두에서 왔다 되는지 거기 있는 못해 두바지 아니 수통화 있네 심라 저 가나요에 떠나요에 뭐시마시 개치모 말해 술을 약고 제마지 개치모 말해 이네 디 아니 타바다 탐제케베 빌로게 와도 못해봐 이나 아니 가뚜이네 가나다 떠나요 되지.
Therefore, to be able to relate the motivation that we have to really want to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, in all of our interactions with sentient beings, whenever we see a sentient being, whenever we hear the name of a sentient being, whenever we meet a sentient being, in any association we have with sentient beings, we should be very conscious of laying down the causes to attain liberation and the omniscient state of enlightenment on the basis of that interaction, and that recognize that for ourselves constantly. And so that when we recall, I'm constantly, praying to be of benefit to sentient beings, well, this is the sentient being I'm talking about. And this is the sentient being that is in my motivation. And so therefore, every time we meet with sentient beings becomes a much more positive occasion for us, where it can bring actual delight and enthusiasm to our lives, because they're fulfilling. This is another opportunity for me to fulfill the great motivation and that I am engaged in.
갑자기 자사소로 세든 가르치려고 그랬을 때 다가 산제 고마 토바를 누가 찍고 찍장을 도와 누가 찍고 찍장인 게지 코알 네바갈 딘쳐부터도 시험 오버래 다 다가네 생기 지금 산제 고마 토바래 잠이지 잔주가 선거도 심전에 되는 공부고 도와 아니 지금 가서데 단다데 제소 파제도 냠내제 대 심전에 되는 심전면은 제일 가야면 도와 아니 서바테서 심전에 되는 공부고 도와 다 지금 강가 삼로다도 심전스기도 다 간자 지나자와 사치고 싶으려도 와 근데 이번 이제 단다데 로종 지게 말래 심전스인데 이신의 노블을 하가데 스게 내다 대차버려 왔다 내다 대차 가서 다 코나 주게 연대도 통고요 가서 타바다 탐지게 봐 문에 심딩에 되냐 질래 되게 지바 이나 아니 심전의 연대 통고래 이 맞으나 다 그요 말와
So this is emphasized, this the importance of sentient beings, the pricelessness of sentient beings is emphasized time and again in the great texts, such as in the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, where Shantideva points out that we have this great respect for the Buddha, paying homage to the Buddha, but then we completely ignore sentient beings and say, what kind of spiritual tradition is that? You know, that they are both have equal potential to lead us to the path to enlightenment, and that they should be treated in that way, and that there's no need to no need to talk about the benefits that sentient beings bring us while we're in cyclic existence, but on the path itself, sentient beings are indispensable. And you know, when we talk about trying to perfect all the trainings of the 6 perfections, for example, it's absolutely essential that we are engaged with sentient beings and recognize their benefit in being able to lead us to those perfections. And indeed, that's why we say that the sentient beings here are like priceless. Again, in the 8 verses of Thought Transformation, it's pointed out that sentient beings need to be seen as greater than a wish-fulfilling gem, and in that way see the proper importance that sentient beings should be in our lives. And that you know, it's obvious that we're meeting with sentient beings all the time. You know, it should be always seen for us as a great opportunity, therefore, a great opportunity to establish the causes to attain liberation and the omniscient state of enlightenment, and that you know, to really avoid any interaction we have with sentient beings creating a cause for cyclic existence, or you know, the lower realms, and that you should make that distinction very, very clearly for us, that because you know, we're always in the company of sentient beings, that we are using that opportunity to its very best, the best potential it has.
디나네 남바 마잉게 디나네 가서데 택바 침모 마잉게다 소소 삼로 땅다니디 캐바 떼내 거래 다디 캐바 매 삼로 땅다 직바 직장 차이나 소소 남바 생이 차요마 택바 침모 생이 차요마다.
And so this is extremely important to constantly make these you know, essential, crucial distinctions, and to understand that yes, I'm a human being, an ordinary being, that yes, I'm inundated by mental affliction, that they are always, you know, seemingly grabbing the opportunities in my own attitudes, but you know, I have to understand that deep down, when I really have to question who I see myself as a Buddhist, as a Mahayana Buddhist, and that what does that mean? Well, therefore, what should be the thrust of my life? How should I be expending my energy of body, speech, and mind? And to make a distinction between that and say somebody who has no religion whatsoever, or who's completely on a different path, and so on. So I have to actually distinguish myself as to what being a Buddhist is, what being a Mahayanist means, and to live a life in accordance with those ideals.
어디 계시고 다디면은 아니 남바인라 태바 첨보라 아니 저거 삼로 지다디 찍고 지장하잖아 아니 초 캐말링게다 남바 마인게 들어 용모 끼고 여러 소소는 용모 끼 교를 배주다 다들 치바이나 아니 다 소소 남바 차에 뒤과 속은 소라 차버려 소소 남 태바 첨보 차에 뒤과 속은 소라 차바이나 다 펜토마소 다디 어서 삼로 섭섭지 마다나.
So we have to be really careful with regard to how we think, you know, that if we are not making these distinctions, then that we are no different in our thinking towards those who are non-Buddhist, those who are engaged in other spiritual traditions, because we're all at the mercy of mental affliction. We're all handed opportunities to promote our mental afflictions on a regular basis. But so it's a question of how I distinguish myself as a Buddhist, because I'm supposed to have this training, supposed to have this distinction to be able to live my life in a much more positive, much more beneficial way. And that if not, then it's just a similar kind of a life that to those who aren't engaged in a spiritual tradition, just dominated by the accumulation of negativity.
다들 인자 치료게 지금 지당 먹고 지금 다변에 최루고 전화데 처가다 지당 먹고 배제 잡아요. 다가 망제 가서 삼로 단단다 따와 캐단다. 아니 딜라테네 다가 미유 샤단다. 아니 디다 튜베게 돈에 아니 소소게 지금 가서도 삼로 단단다. 지금 누가 민다오에 딜라테네 그 녀몽 그 다간데 좋아이네 녀몽이 깨라 먼저 녀몽 기베 줄라 먼저 녀몽 매버서에게 아니 줄라 저도와 배주 땅 다 되게 탑라 민다거든 아니 줄로 리버 민다도 요구로 와 인다도 요구로 와 민다도 요구로 와.
And that we can see from different spiritual traditions, different world views, and so on. Whether it's through similarity in rituals, or views, or thinking, where there is a general trend to a general commonality of seeing that certain ways of acting are negative. They are like we call them the mental afflictions. And that there is a general emphasis on not giving these more afflictive ways of thinking opportunity, of not providing the conditions in which they might thrive, or not creating the causes that just promote those mental afflictions. And so it's important to understand that as well, and to be able to make ourselves understand that we are part of that in a way. So let's leave it there for today.
아니 안데데 셴쳔제 공부도 따와라 아니 개가려도 다 란쳔제게 나라도 보고 그랬다고도 듣고 뒤게 아니 보고 와라 마테바 그랬지고도 다데 와다디 좀 개지 버려 봐 삼로 처음 컨디션을 란쳔제 개고도 들어 거두이네 아니 도나 제도 같잖아 아니 란쳔제 개고도
And so, in general, what we can really take home is really this distinguishing between the attitudes which are labeled here as self-cherishing and the attitude of cherishing others, and to kind of start the process of identifying when we are either dominated by one or blessed by the other, and to really see, for example, in the self-cherishing attitude, to try to understand how it is operating within our thinking. How are we being deceived by that attitude? How are we promoting conditions for it to thrive and giving it opportunities to dominate in our minds? And how is it manifesting in our lives, in our actions? And then conversely, to recognize when we have a notion of really wanting to help another, benefit others, cherish another. How can we promote that? How can we give that conducive conditions to thrive and to become the more dominant mental attitude in our lives?
다디다 랑닝데 페마다 제치를 주수 삼사체 아니 데네 데데 니마다 외데체 아니 랑이 치고는 마다 전에 반대서 라물 다리 닝가베 우소도 우르서도 소스 담비 가서 페 니베 가서 수베 가서 때도 쉬는 산제 고마마도 그때 제수 소소 어디를 삼다.
And so we have a Guru Manintravajradhara, a Guru deity on our crown, and then at our heart center we have the 8-petaled upturned lotus and moon and sun diska mandala seat. And then we make the supplication for our Guru to come down and take a seat at our heart center with the supplication verse, O Guru, O glorious and precious root Guru, come take your lotus and moon seat placed here at my heart. Keep me safe in your kindness, bestow on me the attainments of your body, speech and mind.
Because of the candle and dodgy cow, Zengaba Chekachi, what is my what is commercial, what is in the Samtana, the mother, you'll book on with the day, and the Samtana was loomed at the moment, what is it. And then the line you get was a young say, get get Corona job, and Kali Korea job, and 10 days you can Kali Yago job, what did you get there? What is yours? And then we say to Rangi. We say train at Lamato Chashua. Then we said Rangi Chibon can't eat that and never to good say about we say train. And Rangi, Takaja, children again, Keke, and then you Mateva Soba, and then because of Lugi Kario in there. Takanaja, Joshi Komano Soba. Joshi Komano Subunayo, that Komani was, and the Ongo to the Kario and Kyogi chatted that time about never chatted, she was just. What did you get up to Lucy? Get up to she was just. And the Cavadoya and it what a Chicaso that the Caso de Jushi Comani, but the Taganish, Titula Sanjay Comatovela, Za, long Tiglet to get the pay, that gave me a push to go here, pick up a shoe to go here. That the ladies are and it's a shower, cover, so Takaja Zai, good that Tamja, she was just. Taganish, any bear, Lung Tamja, and a bit never chasu. Tagane Tillet drops in water, Tillet girl to get the contact, never chasu. Some Tillet to get by Sijila Sanjay Comato were less one. With a shoe chas, what did the commercial? Tagane Chaba do ya, and it's a Sijika Sanjay Command Tobali, get Chichu the Taming and Nanshe. And then Taming and Nanshe, girl to the she was a Kanam, Taparam Jampashi chat was chosen, so what did the commercial?
And that's then with the recitation of that supplication for the third time, Guru deity proceeds down through the central channel to take a seat at our heart center. And then the lotus petals fold over, encapsulating our root Guru, and are sealed at the top with a semi-white vajra, and then also surrounded by the Sanskrit vowels in a clockwise direction, the Sanskrit consonants in an anti-clockwise direction, and the syllables of the dependent arising mantra in a clockwise direction. And then from within, from the heart center of our Guru at our heart, light rays emanate, and they permeate through the petals of the lotus and through our own body and mind, pervading every cell of our body and mind, and so that we are completely purified of all negativities and obscurations and all of our physical ailments, such as any unevenness of the four elements causing any kind of illness, and that all these faults are completely pacified, and so that we are, have the potential to attain the state of enlightenment in just one short lifetime, and in assisting that process also, that all our channels and winds and drops and all the faults of our drops are completely purified, and they are rendered, pliable, and especially the main problem of us attaining that state of enlightenment is, from a tantric perspective, is that we are purified of all ordinary appearance. And then we know, in realizing that all of this has occurred, we are really rejoicing and delighted and say, this is fantastic. This is really a wonderful, that have attained this state of pure appearance, pure reality. And that to understand also that even though this is not happening for real, it is laying down very important imprints for it to manifest in actuality in the future. And then through the combination of our own most subtle wind with the body of our Guru deity at our heart center, our own body transforms into the body of an enlightened being. And then through the combination of our own most subtle mind acting as the substantial cause, with the mind of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, our own mind is transformed into the enlightened mind of a Buddha. And so now our own body, speech and mind become inseparable from the body, speech and mind of a Guru, the Vajradhara. And the place also has been purified of all impurities, and that has transformed into the pure realm of Guru Vajradhara. And in seeing ourselves as Guru Munindra Vajradhara, we emanate countless rays of light from our own heart center, equal in number to all the sentient beings in all the three realms of existence. And they are entering into the crowns of all those sentient beings. They are automatically and instantaneously purified of all negativities and obscurations, and they arise also as fully enlightened Buddhas. And all their places also are purified of all faults and impurities and transform into the pure realms of Guru Munindra Vajradhara. How wonderful. This is really emptied out all of cyclic existence. This is really superb.
And
that this attainment of the state of enlightenment of myself and the state and all sentient beings, I am aware that they are completely empty of inherent existence and are merely imputed by thought. And that may I dedicate quickly, very strongly, that very quickly, that what I am and the way I'm thinking here, may it be made manifest for real as soon as possible. And do our Lam Rim prayer. From my two collections, vast as space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all lives, Manjushri. May I find the best of complete graded paths of the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by my practice. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings. With the points of the path as I have discerned them, may I uphold Buddhist teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time, by even this great path to enlightenment completed, due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their children. May all human and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and create conducive conditions for practicing the excellent paths, never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may they always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere.